Hello, and welcome to the Design for Greatness podcast, conversations with Candice to help you elevate your mind, body, and spirit and own your divine greatness. Today, you have episode number 26 with Binod Rai. I am so happy to introduce you to one of my favorite human beings, Binod. I had the incredible opportunity to lead a YouthLink Humanitarian team of 29 people to Nepal this past June and July, and I worked with Binod all year leading up to this trip, and then his team, Insight Himalaya, totally took care of us throughout our 2 weeks of service there. And it was incredible. Like all humanitarian work, this experience opened hearts, connected us so powerfully to the people of Nepal, and ultimately every sacrifice that we made to get there and serve was just absolutely magnified and amplified. Just blessings were showered upon all involved, and that is truly one of my favorite things about humanitarian work. My heart is just exploding with gratitude for all of these experiences, and especially for Binod, who was a huge piece of making all of it happen. He is the founder and director of Insight Himalaya, which is a trekking company, and he takes people all through the Himalayas. He is the Nepal Country Coordinator for Waves for Water, which we will dive a little bit more into in just a minute. And as I alluded to, Binod is the in-country coordinator for YouthLink. Binod, welcome to the Design for Greatness podcast. I am so delighted to have you here.
Thank you so much, and namaste.
Namaste. I love namaste. In fact, that was one of my favorite things coming home. I actually wrote a whole entire speech about namaste. And for anyone that doesn't know, namaste means the light in me honors the light in you. And everyone in Nepal, namaste. When you meet, when you leave, it is said probably 1,000,000 times a day. I'm exaggerating, maybe just 100, but it is said all the time. And so the cool thing is you're then looking for the light in people that you're honoring every time you say it. And I love that.
Yes.
So Binod, let's get into what brought you into humanitarian work and kind of give us a little bit of background about how you came to be in this beautiful place where you are able to impact so many people.
I think humanitarian work is something that, as a family, as a as a Nepali, we were always practicing humanitarian work in terms of helping our fellow men, being conscious of those around you, and then also because of my faith, being a Christian, what I learned from the Bible, and also basically being aware of things around you, helping others, and how to be useful for others was always there. But then in terms of doing humanitarian projects, that's sort of work only started when I was introduced to the organization called Waves of Water, totally by coincidence, and also by a natural disaster, which was the earthquake of 2015 in Nepal. It was a huge earthquake with almost 8 Richter scale, and made it to the international news headlines. It was such a big shock, and suddenly, and as you said earlier, I run an adventure travel company in Nepal, and so we were looking forward to the season coming up, and this event happens. And while the very next day when the incident happened, a gentleman called Ryan called me, and he said, a friend, he was a client, who actually said that he knew of this gentleman called John Rose, who was very keen to come to Nepal. I had heard about John before, but it hadn't stuck in my mind. And surely enough, a few days later, John turned up on the doorstep, on my doorstep, and was there with a few hundred water filters. And he wanted my help to distribute water filters in Nepal. So that's how it all began. So then at that particular time, I just saw myself as being someone who could be useful for John, I did my best. I was totally involved with the distribution of the water filters, and then that's how it picked up. But then with time, I saw how useful the water filter was and how it was a very useful tool in helping people who were really desperate. And then it also made me understand how water, which all of us, especially people in urban areas, especially people who have easy access to drinking water, take for granted, that how important water was. And so everything suddenly came to light, and I could join the dots. And I saw how the simple device could be so useful for people, and how people were desperate for uh, potable water, how people were even losing lives. And so that is how I got more and more involved with wastewater. And I really find myself being very grateful to this day that how uh, I only the only explanation is hand of God, where I got this opportunity to be involved with this, and I could uh, be very productive.
Yeah,
So that's
I
what
love
I've
that.
been, yeah, that's what I've been doing. And then what, as you know, that I'm in the travel trade business. I have tried to use the tool in my everyday life, in my business, speak to people, and then wherever, and particularly when we have the YouthLink group come over to Nepal, I noticed there was a demand for bottled water. We were camped, or we were staying in a remote area, and one of the big key issues was bottled water. And I remember very early on when YouthLink told me that, Binod, we have a budget for bottled water. And that thing really came to mind and said, like, you don't need a budget. You can use the money elsewhere. And he said, why? And he said, because that's what we do in Peru. This is what we do in Thailand. And I said, no, what is water filters? You save that money. I don't need that water. I will provide potable water. And so that was how it all started with YouthLink. And then I started thinking, like, hang on, why can't, is there any way you can introduce these water filters in other destinations as well, so you use less plastic, and then maybe even give out water filters to the communities you work? And so I was so elated, so happy when one of the leaders few years ago called me from Vietnam when I was already with a YouthLink group in India, saying that, Vinod, by the way, we are distributing 20 filters in Vietnam now at this very moment. This is what I'm doing. And so that was like
Uh, it's
such a,
it's
yeah.
absolutely incredible. And water, potable water, is a basic human need. And so many people are sick, so many people die, so many people struggle because they don't have potable water. In fact, when I was in Kenya, that was one of the biggest problems there. And the men would be addicted to alcohol because alcohol was actually cheaper than the water. And this was creating all sorts of issues because then they were drunk and they actually became infertile, and this huge problem. And so
Wow.
after I was
I've never
introduced,
thought
yeah,
about that.
yeah, and
Wow.
one of the team leaders that went to Kenya this past year, I told her about the water issue there, and she took Waves for Water's filters to Kenya this past year while we were in Nepal and they were in Kenya. So
Oh,
the Waves for Water filters are absolutely incredible, and what a blessing to be able to spend, the
right.
hundreds of dollars that we would have spent even just for that one trip, where you were able to
Yes,
provide the water and we wouldn't have to pay for the bottled water. I mean, it's,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
the
Yes.
ripple
Easily
effect.
done. Best part is it's so easily done,
Yes,
and we need to do more of this,
we
but
do.
it's a game changer.
It's a game changer, 100%. And one of the very favorite things that we did was visit the homes in the community there in Nepal. And the the kids on our team would then give them all a water filter. And you taught us how to use that water filter. In fact, I drank I drank from you took this water and you put dirt in this water and all sorts of crap in this water, and then you ran it through the filter and I drank it, and I'd never
You're
gotten,
still alive.
yeah, I was still alive. And maybe you could share with us about how American tummies are the worst
Very
with
good.
water.
Very good. Yes,
Yeah.
I also haven't told you about how the water filters too. I wanted to mention to you two things about how the water filter has been very useful, or how this water filter program has been very useful, even I would like to call it personal. Number one, of course, we were able to help till date more than um, like 50,000 people
Wow.
more.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that is the direct wonderful effect of the water filters. There's no doubt about that. We need to do more of that. But the other thing that I've experienced in my business is before we had the water filters, we had the issue of having to boil the water. How do you provide clean water? And you'll be surprised. You'd think like, oh, you go up in the mountains, you should have access to spring water. So what's the issue? But one of the things that happens in the Himalayas is that one should always be aware that, or one should always think that there's someone above you, in the sense that there could be a village above you, there could be some grazing animals above you. So in this nice green meadows with this nice spring water, there are these yaks and these lovely animals grazing around. So when they graze on the grass and drink in the water, and the next thing they poo and pee in the water, and then as the water cools down, this lovely spring water can also have waterborne diseases. And so we before we had access to the water filters, we used to take the water. Of course, we told the guys, get spring water, go further, go 1 hour, get clean water. They got the water, they boiled the water. But even though we boiled the water, there was always someone who was ill, had a tummy issue, which was very frustrating. And it's funny you mentioned about the American tummy, and I believe the American tummy is the most sensitive of all tummies, maybe
That's what you
because
told us. Yes.
so that's an excellent testing bed. And so when we got the water filters, we put the American tummy to test the water from the water filter. And so since we've had access to the water filters, kids that are, and also, Western kids from the United States, from Canada, kids who've probably never been out of the country, came with the parents. And it is very important that no one is sick. Because in the past, we've had situations where people got ill and we had to evacuate, let alone someone not having a good holiday, but evacuate the person off the mountain by helicopter.
Oh,
It's a rescue, just because, someone got a bad tummy in this pristine mountains. And
right.
so once we've had the water filters, there's absolutely no problem with people having tummy problems. And therefore, I am very confident when I say that please don't use bottled water. This water filter, or this water coming out of the filter, is way more than enough
Yes.
um,
Well,
for needs.
and like I say, it's a basic human need that every human being on this planet really should have access to clean water. It's one of the most basic needs. And I mean, just YouthLink alone, when we were there, just our one 15-day trip, we were able to give him to 37 families plus the health clinic, and then a past YouthLink trip had given one to the school, and then one of my incredible clients was able to donate one to the whole village. So in just, I mean, that's an impact of just one trip, but to think of how many over the years you've been able to distribute, it's
Absolutely.
absolutely incredible. Yeah.
I've 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 been I find myself very grateful because I've been useful for that sort of projects. And of course, I've had to travel quite extensively in Southeast Asia, as far as Indonesia, down south, but even up in China, Mongolia. But some of the toughest areas I've seen is Bangladesh. It's in the slum areas just next to the big bustling city of Delhi. It's cities, Myanmar, flooded areas in Myanmar. And I have used that same filter from which YouthLink students drink from. I've used the same filter in areas where I too had lots of doubt about like, will this filter work? And the very interesting thing is, just as you said earlier, that every time we do the demonstration, we make sure the water is murky. We filter the water through these amazing filters and drink in front of the recipients, because we believe unless and until we drink the water, unless and until we believe and show that this filter works, no one's going to use the filter. No one's going to believe. And so I've been in a situation where I was in Myanmar, 2016, in summer, just after flood in West Myanmar, a place called Rakhine. And we were in this middle of the village. And very quickly, I found out that the only source of water they had was this um, a very, very muddy pond in the middle of the village, which is like chocolate brown, muddy pond. Whenever we tell people where to get the water from, we always say that use the water, use the source which is the cleanest. And I said, so we are about to do this demonstration. They said, okay, bring the water. And so they bring this bucket of water, chocolate brown, muddy water. And said like, well, I think you might have a better source. Is someplace half an hour later, further? No. Maybe an hour further? No, this is the only water. Okay, so is this, yeah, this is washing water, drinking water, this is buffalo swimming water, everything. This is it. And so there, this is early days, like, this is 1 year into the project. And there I am doing this demo, chocolate brown water, did the demo, drank the water, I survived. And so if it works in those conditions, it'll work anywhere.
I love it. I love it. Well, earlier you talked about how you're a Christian and you feel like God has truly been in the details of this and kind of been guiding you and leading you in this so that you can have this beautiful impact. Will you speak more to that and how you've been able to kind of follow those little promptings and tender mercies and how that's shown up for you?
No, that's a very good question. I think the things, how my life has charted out to be, it was never planned. I believe the way things charted out, the way things unfolded is definitely divine intervention, divine blessing. For me, it was, looking back, it's always been like being true to your faith, put in 100% to the effort, put in 100% effort in the task that's given in front of you, and really focus on the work there. Even though when things around you look like, no way, man, no way, everyone's moving in a different direction. My friends are doing things different, but my work is so different than what conventional people are doing, which is very scary, very unconvincing, actually. The things that's unfolding is very unconvincing. Nothing to convince you that you're on the right path, but it's about trusting and moving on. So that's how I've experienced in my life. And then obviously staying true to your faith and to that immediate plan or vision, the rewards have been really, I couldn't be better.
Astronomical. Yeah. Beautiful. Well said. Yeah. So in my business, I talk about living with a mind firmly aligned, a body purposefully loved, and a spirit powerfully accessed. And
Yes.
we were talking a little bit before we hit the record button about how when we purposely love our body by keeping it moving, that it helps our mind stay aligned and it keeps us from a lot of the mental health things that can really trip people up. Will you speak to that and kind of what you've seen with your trekking and all of your experiences?
Oh, I don't know if I will be speaking in line in what you are thinking
However you
about.
say it is great.
Yeah. Uh, Trekking side of things, through the trekking business, I have find out it's the businesses that I've involved in, the business of service, providing service. I feel I'm really privileged because, it is service, but it's a service where it's to do with creating holidays for people. So it's not
A lot
like,
of fun.
so like already people are coming in a very happy mindset. So it's like, okay, Binod, bring it on. What's happening? But it's not like, oh, I'm going to give you an injection or I'm going to give you an operation. So already I'm in a happy state of mind. So I am in a privileged position. But what I feel is what I've the thing that I've learned from my work is that in terms of mental stability, mental health, I feel that service, if you're involved with service, when you are actually caring for someone in whatever way, then obviously that itself is huge mental healing for yourself. Uh, but I've also observed if things like where you're actually concerned about yourself most of the time, and I think that's natural. Human nature, it's so natural to just think of yourself, of your family, your kids, and of course, your plate is full. Your plate is always full, and there's so much to be done. At the moment, but if you do not consider about anything beyond your plate, but only thinking about yourself, then I feel that obviously doesn't help doesn't give you a mental health, healthy mental health. So coming back to my business, in my line of work, what I found is whenever I have, taken people up the mountain, which I usually do, go up a hill, and if I'm always caring for someone, helping the people, and of course, not everyone is cruising up the mountain. Some people are struggling, and then so you're just talking to them and taking their mind off of the stress and the worry. And within a few hours, the person's on the top, and the person tells me like, "Oh, how quickly we are already up here." And so it's about when you're concerned about people, and then the other thing. So not only you help someone to go up the mountain, suddenly you realized I didn't even feel that climb up the mountain. I don't feel any climbing. I don't feel any my rucksack rubbing on my shoulders. I don't feel that. And that's I feel. So that's what I've learned. The way for a healthy, I almost feel like the best way to live your life is a balanced life is when you are looking, helping others and so on.
Focused on
uh,
others and helping
and I
them.
think Bible talks about that all the time. It always talks about like lay up treasures in heaven, help others and all that. I don't think it's like it's God wants us to do that actually for our own being, our own well-being first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a secret
And
to
I
life.
love the And I love how he's created this whole universe, how it is all, interconnected, but in the right way. It's not like, save lots of money and then help others. It's like help others and all that. And you know what? That bank account, I'll fill it up for you.
Absolutely.
I'm not even like, oh, because that's what I read in the Bible. No, it's like, that's what I'm experiencing.
Yeah, that's what you're experiencing. That's so incredible. Well, you take treks in the Himalayas and Nepal and India, all over the world. You've had the opportunity to interact with probably every single nationality in this world. What have you noticed about all the people that you've been able to interact with?
Such good question. Because I've occasionally you have clients saying like, "Ah, Binod, who do you like? I'm French. Are French people really nice? British people, right? Maybe just trying to find out who are the business." And I'm like,
And
you
then
know
the
what?
youth link comes and they're like, "We're your favorite team you've ever had."
It's like in the face, in the face. But what I like to say, and then of course, with my 30 plus years of experience in the travel industry, I started when I was 18. And also, thanks to humanitarian work in India and some remote places, where you meet people from, both work.
All walks of
They
life.
come across all walks of life, maybe with humanitarian, more people at the grassroots level, business, normal people to the elite. Both experiences now, I'm 50 years old. I put all this experience on the table. I say, like, there's good people in every religion, every race. It's just like, if you feel that certain group of people are horrible people, you haven't met the good people. You haven't traveled enough.
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
There's good people everywhere. And I also like to say this. It's because now I grew up in a pretty um, um, close Christian family, Christian surrounding when I was as a child, where everything was very black and white. And one of the things about travel showed me that there was obviously, nice people everywhere, and also the fact that many places I found people in other faiths other than mine who were less particular about what my religion was, what my faith was. I found them to be more generous. Maybe they're trying to impress me, but I just found them so kind and so generous and so judgmental, less judgmental or non-judgmental. I
Hmm.
thought, like, my folks need to see more of this. And again, in terms of reverence, to just like the bigger power, that's like sometimes people in my faith didn't even have that sort of reverence,
Right.
the people of other faith who my folk might say, like, oh, maybe, they are not, they're heathens or whatever. Right? These people have more reference, 10
Yeah.
times more reference than my folk. So in that respect, I feel like I have huge respect for people around. If I say I do not have respect, or if I do not have respect, that will be like I haven't seen enough. I have been so naive. I've been, just like
Yeah.
very sad person.
I love that. I I think when people have judgment, it's out of ignorance, and truly
Absolutely.
once you're able to experience. And that was why I actually was so excited to come to Nepal. I had never been to anywhere, and Nepalese is such a hard language. Oh my goodness. In fact, I'm going to have you speak some. To me, it sounded like alien. And I actually came home and I had my husband look it up. And Star Wars, the Ewoks on Star Wars, they speak a combination,
Like
and
Nepali?
Nepali is one of the languages that the Ewoks speak. And it was so interesting because I had never I speak a little bit of Spanish. I can kind of understand a little of French. There's some of that. This is completely different, like 100% different. And I found myself feeling like I was speaking, like hearing alien all the time, but I would look into the eyes of these people and there was nothing but
Something
just
was coming
light
through.
and love. Yes. And I'm like, you could speak alien to me all day long, and I just love you. But
Absolutely. It's about connecting with the people. I think YouthLink program is an amazing program. I wish the kids would have more time to at the various communities, but I know there are time limits, more in terms of how much time they can spare from their summer holidays and so on. But I still feel it's a wonderful program where you are or YouthLink has created the platform for these young people to come, very close to the local people. And I think, especially in my travel as well, it is so important that I connect with the right people.
it is.
And
That
and
networking is
because
amazing.
it is so important to connect, yeah. And if in any experience, now I'm so conscious that whenever I visit a new country, I will, even though the fact that I've been in the travel business for 30 years, I should be saying, like, let's get on a plane. go to this amazing place and find people, explore, and so on. I'm reluctant to do that because I feel the moment I step on in new soil in the new country, I want to meet the right people, uh, and I want to be in the right company, because the moment you do that, then suddenly that whole place opens up,
Yes.
and that is the lasting image in your head, and that will never go away. And after that, even you might meet really horrible people, it doesn't matter. But if it's the other way around, then it's
Yes.
a difference.
Those connections, they make all the difference.
Absolutely. So
So,
I think YouthLink is doing that for these kids. If these kids went with their parents and didn't meet the right people, they're like, oh, Peru, horrible place. Thailand, oh, I don't want to go there anymore. But again, if it's YouthLink's done it so many times, and you're going with the right people, you're meeting the right people, making the right impact, it's going to be like, wow, that's like magical.
changing your life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the neat thing about the time that we live in is with social media and Facebook. I mean, I'm Facebook friends with so many of those people that I met this summer, and we can keep those connections, which is incredible.
No, they can speak English, but they are on Facebook.
Well, they actually type English, so they have enough that we could communicate a little. Uh, but Binod, I wonder, are there any experiences where you feel like have been big turning points in your life, and some experience that really helped you decide who you wanted to be and what you wanted to do, and any of those that can kind of help us understand those turning points, and where we want to keep our focus.
I think I've been blessed in the sense that, as I told you earlier, I started off my life as a young man and being involved in the travel trade business. And one of the nice things was I was introduced to adventure travel tourism from a very young age. And so being up in the mountains and all that was really nice. And the next thing, I just finished high school, and my father suggested that we should start a travel company where we would take people up the mountains when they're coming on holidays. And so I thought that was a wonderful idea. I joined him. He was in his early 40s and he just led the army. And so he had the army training, and of course I, being a army kid
Strapping young man.
and an army kid, I was, when you have a dad who's been in the army, so that's like I'm still in the army sort of thing. The discipline and all that is already there. And so I grew up in this family business where I was got really involved with the tourism business really early on. But I really enjoyed where I was. And I just believed that this was my purpose. I was within God's plan. And the more I was passionate about it, so I just got completely passionate about what I was doing. And the more passionate I got, I guess that reflected in my work. That reflected in my, I mean, my smile and how I was doing, and I was beginning to meet the right people, and things that I thought, like, I wish I could be involved with this. I wish I could be exploring new areas, or I could be, looking for snow leopards up in the mountains or something. These projects did arrive, and I was involved with this sort of thing. And there was never a dull moment. So looking back, 34 years, like, just went like that. And now my son, who is now in Canada, and he's gone studying there, and I'm 50, and I've taken up much of the work from my father, who's still very active in the business. But I'm now, doing R&D, new vision, new areas that we are growing. And now I'm looking back, I had so much fun. And I would like my son to do the same. And so I want to prepare him, and also young people, which we do. We prepare young people to come into the work. And the people that work with us in the business. They've been working with us for the last 20 years, 30 years. Now their sons are working, so with their second generation and so on. So I can say that my work has only gotten better every time because I have been totally focused on the work, and the things have unfolded in the right way. Have there been challenges? Of course, yes. We have, as you said, earthquake. Nepal is a country where we have a lot of political upheavals, and we also have economic challenges here. One of the biggest challenges, of course, is the political instability that we have, and so on. And also, tourism is a business that's very sensitive, meaning if there's some instability in the neighboring countries, that affects as well. And of course, COVID is there. But because we've been in the business for so long, and I guess our hard works have really paid, and people will always remember us, and it's always like, how are you guys? And they want to come back again and again. And so we never really promote the business. It's always been word of mouth.
That's just beautiful. Yeah.
Yes, so that.
And I love how you said your passion reflected in your work. I think there's so much power in living with purpose and truly believing in and loving what you're doing and knowing that what you're doing is serving others and impacting lives. And I was pondering while you were talking, you impact every humanitarian group that comes and works with you, but you impact all of the workers that you employ. You impact every tourist group that comes. You impact everywhere that you've been able to do these waves for waters. And now your impact is growing even to India and all of these things. And it started from this beautiful desire to serve and have fun and help other people have fun. And now the ripples of you living into your greatness, you doing what you love, being passionate about it, and using that to serve others, it has just had this beautiful, beautiful ripple effect, and it continues to grow. And like I say, now these waves for waters are in Kenya, and they're in Peru, and they're in Thailand, and all of these places that we're going, and Fiji.
Yes.
Yeah, and I want to get one for my own 24-hour kit. I
Oh,
need.
yeah, definitely suggest you have one.
Yes. So
Obviously.
what do you, as I say that to you, and you kind of see this impact that you have, what are your thoughts about all of that?
Well, it's the impact has only come from the fact was when the need had arose for me to be proactive.
Yeah.
I was there, and if I wasn't there, someone else would have done it. And while I say this, I do want to mention how on two occasions I told John Rose that, John, maybe this sort of work is not, or maybe I'm not the right person to be leading the work in Nepal and India. And that's 1 year on after I started doing, because I said, I do this sort of work. I'm a service provider. I always saw myself, more like a business and helping John with the program. But I just felt like maybe the program would be more effective if there was an expert who had done humanitarian work all over the world and was specializing in water and this and sort of thing. And John said, no, Binod, if you really ask me, I like to work with people like you who run businesses, who has been running business and is passionate about what they're doing, because you have a very clear focus of what you want to do, what you can achieve, and how much time it takes to achieve. So I have no issues from my side. If you are concerned that when you are busy with your work, eventually, then you won't have time, I have no issues with that. You can work whenever you are free. And so there were two occasions where, looking back, I think one of the reasons I said that was because when I distributed the water filters in parts of India. We were working in, sometimes 40 degrees centigrade
Oh,
in the
wow.
summer, at 9 o'clock at night in the slum areas of India. These are pretty scary places. Even locals, they don't want to go there. And so when we were working through that, you're giving more than 100% in these areas where, there's all sorts of things. Um, but and uh, and then when you go back, we do what we call it an M&E, which is monitoring and evaluation. So it's not only about giving out water filters, but you're going back and you're making sure the water filters are being used. If it's not being used, why are they not using it, and all that sort of thing. And if it's been damaged, you replace that sort of thing. And you go at least 3 to 4 times a year to make sure that happens. But sometimes when you go back and if you find that the person hasn't used the water filters and it's it's still brand new in the plastic and they tucked it away, and you go there and says like, "Why haven't you used it?" And so, "Oh well, I want to save it. I want to use it for when we really need it." And so that's becomes like you get quite upset about like, "Oh, maybe I didn't do it right. Like I'm the one who's so successful." And so those are the things that put you down. And so when John said like, John, and said like, you're expecting 100% success. My expectation is 5% success. Even if you make 5% success, that's huge. And on one occasion he explained to me, remember and that was like 4 years after the Nepal earthquake. And he said, in 4 years, Binod, we've distributed more than 5,000 water filters in Nepal. And of all the people who we distributed water filters, only one person is working with me from Nepal and is now working in India. Isn't that you, the person? And so you are the person who, of all the people, has now come all the way to India and is now making waves here. What do you think? And I said, like, well, I think you're right. And so I'm continuing helping with John. I'm more inspired. Um, and I'm still very passionate about the water filters.
Yeah,
And that's how all these things have unfolded.
there's a saying I love, and it says, "Many are called, but few are chosen." And the reason I believe that few are chosen is because we actually must choose ourselves. We actually
Yeah.
must say, like, there's a need, and actually I can do that, and I will do that, and I will put myself out there and do the hard thing, even
Yes.
if it looks like it's not going to happen. And I think managing expectations is absolutely critical. There's a quote that I love, and it says, "Can you be 100% commitment, show up in 100% alignment with zero expectation?" And
Mhm.
that really, really makes you check yourself. Like, what is your desire? What is your compelling reason to do something? And can you show up even if
Yes.
even if there's zero expectation? And this is just so powerful to recognize.
Absolutely. And if I may share my thought on this,
Please.
I think you can see me as a person who, even though I meet people and I'm always sort of in the front line with clients, and yes, as a personal, on a personal note, a person, me personally, if there was an opportunity to, just like go ahead and do something, I'm usually the person who's always like, no, give someone else a chance. And because that's by my nature. And I just don't want to be the person who's like, oh, no, give it to me and grab and all that sort of things. And that's how it's been in my life. And sometimes my wife looks like, you're the last person who's been like sitting at the back. You've been always dealing with people in the front. You know how to deal with people. Come on, go on. And that's me as a nature. But then again, being a little bit philosophical or, about my life, I always feel like that's how I've lived my life. But then looking back, it's always been like, uh, God telling me like, yeah, but if you are confident, if you are ready to be out there, then, I have your back.
100%, I have your back. I love that. I love that. And I love how at the start you talked about you put in 100% effort. you put in 100% effort, and sometimes you don't know, but you're true to the faith and you put in 100% effort, and God will have your back. And
Yeah.
that's absolutely
I
beautiful.
also wanted to mention you earlier, which I didn't, and is before I joined my family business, I had the opportunity to travel to the United States and study in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
You know, someone from the Himalayas all the way to Hawaii, and this was in way back in the late 80s, 90s. You know, I was like high school. That would be a really interesting story. A young man from in the Himalayas and now doing something. Um, and once in a while, I'll just think like, what would I have, how would my life be, have unfolded if I had taken that path? Um, and then I also look at, you know, today where a lot of young people leaving the country, and occasionally there's some young Nepali people come back to the country and they say like, wow, Nepali people now coming back. So it's a big thing. But I am an example of someone who uh, didn't see the grass greener on the other side, stayed back, believed in my family, who obviously thought the better, or obviously were much mature enough for myself. And I obviously prayed for the decisions that I'd made. And as I said earlier, put 100%. Looking back, that's the best thing that I did. But then at that particular time, 34 years ago, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And many times, there were a lot of people, even close relatives, like who said, like, you'll regret this. And a teenager, for a young man, that's really, very worrisome. That's very concerning. But I think it's so important to focus, to believe in yourself, and then as things unfold, where you're making the right decisions and following your heart,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
definitely pays off. Now I'm already looking at a situation where my son's on the other side, and he's getting his education, but I'm thinking like, hey, look at me, you know, if
This
I
is a
did it.
good life. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always tell, I always, sometimes parents and even senior people like to say like, oh, young people, do they know what they're doing? I like to say, young people today are way more clever than us. You have so much, they have so easy access to knowledge and information out there. And I believe they are way more adaptive than ourselves. Um, and so, they understand these sort of things, and they need to see the both sides,
Yeah.
and also follow the heart.
Follow the heart. They're going to make good decisions.
They're going to
Absolutely.
make good. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Binod, it's been so incredible to spend some time with you. If people want to get involved with Waves for Water, how do they do that? And how would they say they want to just get a water filter for their own 24-hour kit or their own,
They
safety?
can go onto their site, wavesofwater.org, and there are places where they can make donations. They can also be updated on what things are happening all over the world. We have Waves of Water has branches all over, particularly in the Philippines, in Nepal, India, where so much is happening. Waves of Water is also very active in the mainland US, especially when there is natural disasters. They're always there in the front line. Um, and uh, and John, who is the founder, we work very closely with him. And not only do we work with water filters, but we also work with other projects. Like say, for example, recently, or we've been working on this project where during the earthquake of 2015, there was a lady who we totally came across totally by by chance, where she had lost her husband in the earthquake. She was expecting a baby, and now the baby is, a beautiful girl who's going to school. So we want to build a house for her. So, it's not only water filters, it's so many other things that we also helping out there.
Love it.
And they can go onto the website and they can
Okay.
donate and be a part of it.
Absolutely. I will link that in the show notes. And what if somebody wants to take a trek in the Himalayas? How would they get a hold of you to go trekking with Binod and Insight
Nepal
Himalaya?
is the
That's
best
my dream.
place.
Choose me.
Nepal is the best place for trekking, particularly at altitude. I always tell people, and that's the reality. Our mountains begin where others finish. So if you're into mountaineering, if you're into being high up in the mountains, you have to come to the Himalayas. I've been in the adventure travel business for the last 34 years. I'd be more than happy to take people up into the mountains, help them arrange holidays in Nepal. It's not only about trekking, it's not only about mountaineering. We also have beautiful national parks, and then we also have lots of villages and very active towns and villages, which I suggest that you should visit. And yes, so the company is called Insight Himalaya. So if you went to insighthimalaya.com, there's lots of information, and do send us an email, and we're here.
I love it. I love it. Well, before we sign off here, is there anything else on your heart that you would just like to leave us as we move on?
Well, I think at this particular moment, I think thank you so much for your time, giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts. Um, I can only say that um, what can I say? Um, I think basically what Waves of Water, their slogan, which says, do what you love and help along the way. If you can do that, do what you love. I think that's what has, I think that's my tagline as well. I'm
That's
just
been
thinking,
your
do
theme of your life, right?
what you love. Like it's number one, do what you love and then help along the way. I mean, did I help along the way? Not in the scale of Waves of Water. It was always like, do what you love was there. Of course, um, I feel I was actually helping people there as well because like do what you love. I was doing what I love, passionate. And then obviously people were saying like, that they are like take them on top of a mountain or a hill, they will start crying. And why are you crying? This is your holidays. And no, I've always wanted and you made it happen. Oh, did I make it happen? Okay. And so like do what you love. And I guess I helped you on the way. So that was something that I was always doing. And now with Waves of Water, I am helping more, and so I think I'm so privileged. I'm so
And with
grateful.
YouthLink. Mm-hmm.
And YouthLink was totally coincidence. They were looking for a partner in Nepal, and little did I know. And I was with my wife there, and they just like, oh, someone told me like, oh, there's this organization called YouthLink. They want to take students in the monsoon. The person who connected me actually said like, I actually told them you would not be interested. And they said like, how did you say that? I said like, no, because it's like monsoon. Like you don't trek in the monsoon. I said, yeah, but I'm free in the monsoon. I think I can help because I like the idea that I can now not only do business, but I was like helping people, you know,
Serve.
because I wanted to do that. Like, it's not like taking people on a holiday all the time. Like I want to do something where I'm like helping my country sort of thing. And so that's what the water filters also did. Like I'm now not only like taking people holiday and like I wanted to do helping, you know. And so so that's how I came across Waves of Water. Sorry,
YouthLink.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I met Jordan and there's another lady, Rebecca, and so like, can you help us, Binod? And said, yeah, of course. And said, oh, by the way, we are going to come to Nepal next month. They came to Nepal, blah blah blah, and rest was history. So it's just like clicked so well.
Yeah.
Do what you love and help
Doing
along the
what
way.
you love and help along the way. That's amazing. It's amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for inspiring us all about the impact that one person can have, and just appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much. And it's so wonderful of you to have me.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Binod is truly an incredible man who has this huge heart for service. His passion is contagious. I love how he showed us today what it looks like to actually do what you love, putting in 100% effort, staying true to the faith, and helping people all along the way. Binod is a wonderful example of a man who is owning his divine greatness and using that greatness, including his skills, his passions, all the things he's been blessed with, using his greatness to do great, impactful things in this world. It's beautiful. If you enjoy this podcast, please do me a favor and subscribe to it. Please rate and review it. This will help others find it and allow this podcast to grow. I am passionate about helping others realize that they truly are designed for greatness and that they have incredible divinity within themselves. I hope this podcast inspires you to own your divine greatness and then use that greatness to step up and serve this world in ways that are totally unique to you and unique to the greatness inside of you. It all starts with mind, body, spirit alignment and love. Love for God, yourself, and others. If you're ready to take the first step, then it's going to require you to become the boss of your brain. If you're ready to do that, then sign up for my free mini course. It's called 5 Days of Focus. The link is in the show notes, along with the link for Waves for Water, YouthLink, and Binod's trekking company, Insight Himalaya. As always, remember, whatever place or circumstance you find yourself in, believe in your belovedness. Own your divine greatness. Use that greatness to fulfill your missions. You are designed for greatness.